grade 7s, welcome to your Monday math. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I've been looking at the responses really thoroughly over Google Forms. I've also been looking, I know some of you have gotten questions when you've written out the answers, they were listed as wrong. I've gone through everyone's responses so that if you wrote it out a little bit differently but you got the answer right, I made sure it was marked correct. So when you get the email released with your score, it reflects your accurate score. What I'm planning on doing is, I see that a majority of you guys do more or less like having the Google form. Some of you has not been working for you, or you're just not a big fan of it, and that's totally fine. What I'm thinking of doing is just putting up on our VLE a link to the Google form, but also a link to a regular PDF worksheet, so you can choose whichever one you like. If you like doing the PDF worksheet and submitting it on the VLE that way, go right ahead, do that. If you like doing the Google form, you can go ahead and do that. So that way you have either option available to you. It makes it as easily and accessible to you as possible. So on that note, we're going to start with a little bit of a review. Today we are talking a little bit more about complementary and supplementary angles, but then the angle relationships. And I'll get more into that when we get to that section. For now, I just want to start off with a little bit of a review. So our complementary angles, we know that they're angles that must add up to 90 degrees. So if it's cut off somewhere here and this is 1 degree, I know that this has to be 89 degrees because 81 or 89 plus 1 equals 90. So that's our complementary angles. It has to add up to 90. Supplementary angles are when it's a straight line across the bottom and there can be an arrow going in any direction around here. So let's say it goes right here, and this angle right here given to you is, I don't know, 72 degrees. I know that the rest of this angle, this right here, it has to add up to 180. So 72 plus something equals 180. In this case, 108. So 108 and 72 equals 180. If I have an angle like this and it is, let's say it's 110, I know this angle right here has to be 70 because 110 plus 70 equals 180. So if it's a straight line across the bottom, 180. If it is a corner or it has that little box in the corner, that's a complementary. So that's our complementary and supplementary angles. The next section we're doing here is called angle relationships. So right off the bat, we need to figure out what these three angles are right here. Whoops. 1, 2, and 3. On the face of it, it looks like it can be kind of difficult. But this is where our knowledge of complementary and supplementary angles will come in. This right here is a straight line. So that means this entire angle here has to be 180. So this angle from here to here equals 180 degrees. So if this here is 32 degrees, what would this be? If it's 32 degrees, that angle here needs to be something plus 32 equals 180. So in this case, 148 is our magic number because 148 plus 32 equals 180. So we figured out this angle, so we're good there. I'm just going to do this in a different color. So we have this angle, we're good here. What about these two angles? Well, this is where angle relationships come in and opposite angles. If you have an angle that has a cross or an X like this, let's say like this, just so I can show you a little bit neater. This angle right here and this angle right here are going to be exactly the same. So if this angle right here is 32 degrees in this case, this angle here has to be 32 degrees as well. So opposite angles, especially if it's an x, are going to be the same. So 1 and 2 here are going to be exactly the same. These angles right here, at the top and at the bottom here, the same rule applies. If they're opposite one another, they're exactly the same. So if this one here is 148, this has to be 148 as well. And do you see what kind of happens there? There's a pattern, 148, 32, 148, 32. It goes into a pattern around it. But also, we have this straight line here. You know how our straight line has to add up to 180? 32 and 48 equal 180. Or 148, I should say. There we go. What if we were looking at this straight angle right here, 148 and 32? We know they equal 180. So I'm going to draw this, I'm going to erase this and draw this again just to make it look neater because I know it looks really messy. We're going to practice with some more angles. But this is where you kind of can look at different angle relationships. And so long as you know how to add up to 90 and 180, you can get 90% of angles right off the bat. So we have a big X here. So let's color code this. I'm going to color them 1, 2, 3, and 4. So angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and angle 4. So angle 1 and I'm just going to draw it like this. Angle 1 and angle 3 are equal. So I'm going to just color code that in blue. Angle 1 and angle 3 are equal because they're opposite each other. Angle 2 and angle 4 are equal. So angle 2 and angle 4 are equal. Okay? That means these angles that are right beside each other, let's say 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 are supplementary. I'm just going to write supplementary as a short form. Angle 3 and 4 are also supplementary. So that means these two angles added up together, 3 and 4, equal 180. Angles 1 and 2 added up together equal 180. Angles 2 and 3, so 2 and 3 are supplementary. Angles 1 and 4 are also supplementary because you can see right here 1 and 4 are a straight line. 1 and 2 are a straight line. 3 and 4 are a straight line. And 3 and 4 are a straight line. So that means they're against a straight line, which means they have to equal 180. Okay, so opposite angles equal. So 1 and 3, 2 and 4 equal. These two add up together are 180. So if I'm giving you an angle, let's just erase these, they're out of the way. So if I give you an x like this, but I only give you one angle in this x, you can figure out the other three by using the angle relationships. So I give you angle 1. Angle 1 is equal to, let's do 105 degrees. So if angle 1 is equal to 105 degrees, I can figure out angles 2, 3, and 4 by using the relationships. So right off the bat, I have here angles 1 and 3 are equal. So if angle 1 is 105 degrees, angle 3 equals 105 degrees as well. Okay? Now to figure out angles 2 and 4, I use my supplementary angles. 1 and 2 are on a straight line here. That means it has to equal 180. So what would angle 2 be if angle 1 is 105? It would be 75 degrees. Because 75 degrees and 105 degrees equals 180. What about angle 4? Well, I can do the same thing I did with angles 1 and 2. I can figure out what it is by doing 180 minus 180 minus 105, or I can see that angles 2 and 4 are equal. So that means 4 must equal 75 degrees. Okay, you see what's going on? 1 and 3 are equal, 2 and 4 are equal. Angles 1 and 2 equal 180, 3 and 4 equal 180, 1 and 4 equal 180, and 2 and 3 equal 180. There's another thing that's going on here. If I add up all 4 of these angles, so 105, 75, 105 plus 75, it equals 360 degrees. Why is that number significant? 360 degrees is the angle of an entire circle. So by adding all 4 of these angles together, even though they're in an X, that creates the entire angles of a circle. So if you know when you have an X like this and all angles add up to 360, you've done something right. If your 2 opposite angles are equal, you've done that right. If these 2 angles added up together equal 180, these 2 angles added up together equal 180, these 2 equal 180, and then these 2 equal 180, you know you've done that right. So, quick reminder, opposite angles are equal to one another. If one is 105, the other is also 105. If one is 107, the other is 107. If one is 10 degrees, the other is 10 degrees. But that's if they are opposite one another. If they are beside one another, it is supplementary, meaning they have to add up to 180. So if one of them is 10 degrees, the other has to be 170 because 10 degrees and 170 equals 180. Okay? So this is going to be what your questions are going to be based off of. Like I said before, it's going to be available on Google Forms or as a PDF. The option is available to you. But essentially, you are labeling the missing angles. I will do a couple questions as short answer, like I did on Friday. I'll also try doing a couple as multiple choice. So that'll also make it a little bit easier. A reminder that when you do the short answer and you got the answer right, but maybe you wrote out a little bit differently than what the answer key had, that's not a worry. I go through everybody's submissions and I look through all your answers. And if you got one right, but it was just written differently, I will still mark it correct and I still give you that point. So when the mark is released to you, it reflects your true score. Okay? So I hope you guys had fantastic weekends. I miss you all so much. Hopefully we will be back into the swing of things, or maybe you guys get to see each other again before the end of the year. But in the meantime, I'm really happy I've been able to connect with you guys this way. Also, guys, I know a lot of you have been sending me emails about math questions. You're also allowed to email me about just updates in your life, because I know a lot of you are bored at home. I know a lot of you are frustrated not being able to see your friends, not being able to do anything. I like hearing from you guys. I like seeing what you guys are up to, because, you know, we don't have that same dynamic that we used to have in the classroom. Like, I used to be able to ask you about how your weekends were, and now we don't have that anymore. But I love hearing from you guys, and I'm really happy that a lot of you like that Google form. I like it as well. I got really, really excited about it. If you don't like it, I'm not offended, don't worry. I just like giving you guys lots of different options for how you submit the work, for how you guys can get engaged and do this work. But in the meantime, happy Monday. Email me if you have any questions. And I love hearing from you guys. So thank you, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday.